So I had just did a video just prior to this about there's a lot of fronts that are going after this gender affirming care on children. And one of them is my last video was the do no harm. It's a legislation that would hold the legislation states that any healthcare professional or doctor who performs a sex change procedure on a minor would be strictly and personally liable for all costs associated with subsequent detransition procedures sought by the minor within 25 years after the commencement of a gender transition procedure. Yeah, so they basically said the whole misleading moniker of gender affirming care is clear, and it's propagated by President Joe Biden's White House, academia, large hospitals, and major medical organizations. So most of these, here's the way I see it, okay? Because there's no way. I mean, American Nurses Association blocked me on Twitter for one reason, because I asked them why they would push gender affirming care on children because of the frontal lobe. And the reason they're making this legislation where the doctors will be held, or the medical professionals will be held accountable for 25 years after they have done something. And I would say that that's going to go further into even those that are prescribing hormones to kids, because they don't know. That article also talks about we don't know the effects or the results of giving children these hormones and cross-sex hormones. These puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. I mean, I think it should be a given. It affects their brain, but they don't know how. So when they say, no, it's safe, they should be held accountable, not just for any procedures surgically done. But if a doctor doesn't know well enough about the frontal lobe, then, well, he should maybe look. I understand the ones that are graduating right now, they likely were taught just the politically driven ideology medicine. But here's what I would tell people to go watch. Glenn Beck had a show on the history of the medicine and American Medical Association. And I already knew about it because I had looked into it, but it's worth watching. About Rockefeller and how back in the day people preferred chiropractors. They preferred the unlicensed herbal practitioners. Yes. They saw medical doctors from the universities as quacks. They did, because they would do stuff for like a cold, like they do bloodletting, like putting leeches on people. So they saw that so see how the history has changed. It's been pushed down your throat that these are experts. And I'm not saying all medical doctors are bad. I'm just saying that there's many that see the truth here with this, okay? Many doctors that are being silenced. I get silenced all the time. I have for 3 years over this issue. Because you know who owns all the pharmaceutical companies? BlackRock and Vanguard. And they own many of the medical, all of it. That's how you get into communism, is when one company or shareholder owns everything. So yeah, they made a killing during COVID. Here's the thing, during COVID, we paid for the virus that infected people. We paid for it. Because nobody to this day really wants to talk about where it came from, although most people know where it came from. And it came with the help of, well, we paid for it. $2 million went to UNAID. Go watch Glenn Beck's program. And yet we have this war, then we have this shooting in Maine, all these ways that these associations of, like the American Medical Association, it formed back in the day when society saw the medical doctors as quacks. They ended up merging a bunch of societies, secret societies and universities, but societies together, And that's what created American Medical Association, probably the same with American Nurses Association. Then they can control the field. And they've gotten away with a lot over the years. They have, because there's always some other crisis that people are paying attention to, and you're told every day these are the people to trust. Yet when those same people that you're told to trust are supporting things like puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones on kids, and they want to force everybody to get a vaccine, and they want to mutilate children's genitals, and they are disregarding the old science of the frontal lobe. Again, this is why many of these kids grow, once they get into adulthood, they're asking, why didn't somebody stop me? Because then their frontal lobe has formed and they have more control over impulses. So it's very predatory in nature that American Medical Association and American Nursing Association, along with many others, would be pushing this on children. It shows a predatory tendency to them that they would do this. Because there's a reason, again, we don't let kids drink until they're 21. I mean, if you're not going to let kids drink and they shouldn't use drugs, then why in God's name should they be allowed to go on cross-sex hormones and puberty blockers that will likely, if they're on them long enough, castrate them? That's ruining an entire life. But this world doesn't want you to know that. Yeah, so you know what? When it talks in the Bible about when the world starts calling good evil and evil good, well, that's when God starts getting really riled up. I mean, that's when the flood came and God just flushed a bunch of people down, flushed them out of the earth. Yet Noah kept trying to tell the people, no, a judgment's coming. I'm building an ark. And they thought he was crazy. Yeah, and then the flood came and those people were, what? No, I'm not evil. I'm not doing anything wrong. Well, just being I'm doing what I'm told and I'm going along with gender affirming care. If I'm a nurse or a doctor, I should really start standing up against that, because that's hurting children. It will, because their frontal lobe will form, and then they will. If you doubt it, go listen to Chloe Cole's story. She spoke in front of Congress. So this goes even further than the do no harm. And this is where I think it's going to go. I think these medical and nursing associations have flown under the radar all this time, except most of the people that are lobbyists for them are from pharmaceutical companies. So that just shows you what trash our associations are. So the pharmaceutical companies are going to do what's in their best interest, which is why most of the people that are at the top of American Medical Association and American Nursing Association are rolling in the millions, and the unions, the people at the top, because they're all going along with an ideology that goes completely against our profession. So Donald Trump retruthed this from Marjorie Taylor Greene. President real Donald Trump says he will ban child genital mutilation. Yes, he said that in many rallies. He'll ban it in all 50 states, which is exactly what my bill, Protect Children's Innocent Act, will do by making child gender affirming care a felony. Now, I think most of these associations figure, okay, well, now that you've changed we'll go along with you. But here's what my argument would be. Is if I knew it, and maybe it's because I don't have as much education as they do, that I remember about the frontal lobe, but all those people that decide the standard of care and dictate what nurses and doctors are going to do failed on that one. And even, American Nurses Association blocked me for being truthful with them. So they clearly didn't care enough about truth, and they clearly didn't care enough about putting children first. So I would say that a lot worse should be done, like they should all face felony charges, but I'll just say this, because maybe they just didn't know. Bullshit. But there most certainly should be some repercussions legally against all of them, because they were in leadership positions and they went along with their pharmaceutical companies and their ideology driven ideas rather than putting patients first.